Recently, I have been reviewing an awful lot of ASICS boots. So I have to give a big shout out to Tokyo Football because that's where I've been buying my ASICS boots from. So if you can't find ASICS boots, I addressed this in my X-Fly Pro 2 review. Go and check out Tokyo Football. They will try and help you out. I do not get paid by Tokyo Football. I'm not making money when you buy boots from them, but it's just the easiest way to get ASICS boots if you're in, for example, Europe or the US, where I know a lot of my audience are. But with that said, this is the ASICS Acros 3, and how does this differ to the two boots that I have reviewed recently? And is it any good? Well, it differs quite a lot, and yes, it's still quite good. Let's start with something really good, like very, very special, and that is the lockdown and responsiveness in this boot. If lockdown, responsiveness are your thing, if they're what you're looking for, you need to be considering this boot. A lot of this comes from this Acros Fit system. So we've got Acros Fit written here. And essentially all this is this cage that's on the outside of the boot on either side. And this retains the structure of the boot so well. It is shocking to me that something so simple can make such a big difference. The boot just doesn't shift. If you put a lot of pressure on the outside of this boot, trying to make a big cut, it sticks right with you. And with that, it also locks you down into the boot because your foot just is not moving. And that is helped by this lacing system, which runs nice and deep down the boot. And if you're going off on a tangent, if you have a reasonably wide foot in the midfoot, these might be a good option as well because you've got lots of adjustability and this floating tongue. The heel lockdown is also really, really great, and it's kind of a mash of the two different heel types in the X-Fly Pro 2 and the X-Fly 5. You've got a little bit of both. You've got the external heel counter, but with more of a style of the X-Fly Pro 2. It is a nice little combination, comfort off the charts in the heel, and this amazing synthetic suede through the back of the boot as well, which is used in all of ASICS' top line boots. We've kind of covered the heel there just by accident, so the heel is going to get a huge up because I love it, but pivoting back to how good the responsiveness and the lockdown is in this boot, it's just some of the best. It's some of the absolute best on the market. So we're going to give the lockdown an up. Responsiveness, we also obviously need to look at the outsole. We have this really stable midfoot and heel, which helps the responsiveness no end. And you also have a surprisingly snappy forefoot for a sole plate that looks like maybe it's not going to be that aggressive. So that as a package makes the responsiveness go up another level. Like I say, responsiveness and lockdown in this boot are its two key top characteristics. And if you like that, you need to check it out. Sticking with the outsole, as I say, it doesn't look like it's the most aggressive because you have got these general conical studs running all the way through the boot. It is the same as the X-Fly 5 and not quite as aggressive as the DS, oh my God, these ASICS names are going to kill me. The X-Fly Pro 2. So it's the same as the DS Light X-Fly 5 and not the same. It is less aggressive than the X-Fly Pro 2. ASICS, sort your naming system out. But aggressive enough, a good option for an FG AG boot, provided you have a nice FG AG pitch or a nice AG pitch, although do be aware this rear stud here is actually quite long. You may be able to see from here as well that you've got that tilt that is very reminiscent on all ASICS boots, whereby you are going to get pushed slightly onto your toes and allow you to get a really great push off as you go. This helps the whole feeling of responsiveness, of aggressiveness from the outsole, and it is also a very comfortable base to this boot being so stable. So the outsole is amazing. It's really good. I like it a lot. And you'll notice on the outsole, we've got a couple of rivets here, and just on the whole, ASICS boots durability has always been through the roof for me. So I've had no issues, no complaints at all. So the outsole gets an up, the durability also gets an up. Let's talk about the rest of the upper and the touch on the ball, because this is where it differs massively from the two other boots that I have tried, because this is a mesh-based boot, and you've got this texture, which is very, very welcome. It doesn't get in your way or kind of become overly intrusive, but you can notice it when you go looking. And the mesh is really nice. It's really well structured, and again, helps that responsiveness. However, I don't find it particularly soft out of the box. It's fine. Like, by no means is this bad, but when you factor in all of this Acros stability and you factor in the way that the toe box has been built with additional structure all through the toe. So the toe box is actually quite high, which is something I don't love. And then you also have all of this structure that's underneath it, which essentially helps the bonding. It makes the boot more durable. It's just not as flexible and as malleable and as mold to your foot as I've come to expect from ASICS. Now, it's a very different boot, but it is an area where I would like to at least see the boot break in a little bit faster. But with that said, it's still very good, and the touch on the ball is direct, it's barefoot, and it's one-to-one. It's really, really nice. So I'm not going to get down on it. It's just I would have liked the break-in time to be less. So I am going to give the break-in time a down, but the touch on the ball is really nice, and you can hit the ball and feel a really direct, solid kind of ping off the upper, which I enjoyed an awful lot. So we are going to give the touch on the ball an up. You know what? This is personal. This is very much a personal thing, I think. But I am going to give the height of the toe box a down. It's something that I didn't love and was very, very noticeable for me. So I'm going to give it a down. You can let me know in the comments if that's harsh, because it does seem like more of a personal thing than something that I can apply to everybody. Just before we move on from the upper as well, I just want to point out the fact that you do get the extra lace hole here, so you can put in a runner's loop, and that is always going to be a plus for me. That's always going to be an up. I love it when brands do that. I love adding a runner's loop. Let's talk about the fit, starting with the width. There is actually a decent amount of width through this particular boot. You can see the amount of material, the amount of space you've got there. If you really open those laces up, you see how much space and width you can create. Now, the problem is going to be that this isn't going to break in to accommodate a really wide foot if the shape doesn't work. As I say, there is a lot of width naturally that you can get from the boot through the adjustability. But if you want to put a wide foot in it and then really try and push the boot out, you're not going to be able to do it because of the way that the boot is set up and the Acros fit system. Again, probably decent for people with a flatter foot, provided you are okay with accommodating to the existing shape and the width that is there. You are not going to create more width by breaking this boot in. Now, this very much applies to the midfoot of the boot. If you are thinking about the front end, kind of this toe box area forward, there is a good amount of width here. So if you have just a regularly wide forefoot, this is completely fine. However, something I absolutely have to point out here is just in this area here, this is on both boots, on both sides, the boot starts to narrow here. And I find does so quite dramatically. And as soon as it starts to narrow, I get a pressure point right there. Like right in that area. And again, pushing that out is fairly difficult. So if you have a wide forefoot, I would just be a little bit careful. You can even see on this side, you have additional structure in that area. You just cannot push that out any further than the original shape with your foot. Again, this gives you that amazing lockdown, responsiveness, all these great feelings. But it comes at a little bit of a cost for me right here. The cost being my own fault. So I have worn a pair of Acros before, the first ones, and I got essentially my regular size. That was fine, or so I thought. But then I tried these two. I went down half a size in both, and the sizing couldn't be more perfect being down half a size. So I was like, oh, well, Acros, I'll just continue that trend. I will go down half a size. And this was a mistake. Lengthwise, half size down, they are absolutely perfect. However, that width that I lose from here and the pinch in, I could have definitely alleviated by going with my normal size. So I would normally wear in a Nike boot a US 8, and I should have gone for the US 8 in this. I think it would have given me a better fit, even if I would have had a tiny bit more room in the end. I went for the US 7.5. I'm still using them. I still like them. It just took me a while to kind of work through that particular area. Now, I think that's going to be a problem for some people, irrespective of size, but definitely something to be aware of. And my advice is probably to go with your normal Nike size as opposed to going half size down, which is what I recommend for most ASICS boots. That does mean that the comfort on these isn't quite at the level of these two boots in general, but it's still a very comfortable boot, mainly because of the stable base, the lockdown, the plush materials. So comfort-wise, absolutely not a problem. And if you are looking for that really aggressive lockdown responsiveness with a barefoot touch, I think this is a boot that you absolutely should consider. Like, no questions at all. And if you want to compare it to these two boots, then you want to check the reviews for these two right here.